recording modes. Starting again with things that are made possible by Venus Engine. I've told you about 4K 60p, 422 10-bit and 200 Mbit per second. Now what does it mean? It means 4K resolution, 3.8 times 2.1 pixel. That's standard for flat TVs and cinema actually UHD. It means that we can record up to 60 frames each second, making it very, very smooth. The different formats, longer, HEVC longer, I will explain later. 422 10-bit internal recording means, next slide, the color, how the camera handles color. 200 Mbit per second means the data rate. The more data, the better interpretation, the clearer signal. To make a long story short, so we can record up to 200 Mbit per second. HEVC translates into H.265. Many people have heard H.264. H.265 is a different compression, higher compression, which gives you basically smaller file sizes. Okay, coming to the color, 422 10-bit, what does it mean? The 422 refers to the color subsampling, chroma subsampling, meaning that from a sample of a certain kind of pixels, you either read all pixels, which would mean of 4 pixels, you will read all 4 pixels height and all 4 pixels width. Then you have 420 or 422, so of a sample of 4, you read 2 on the one axis and 0 on the other, combining them. So meaning you still get information over the rows, but not over the rows horizontally, combining these. So you're mixing essentially 2 pixel positions. So 422 gives you twice the information. Because of the 4 pixel sample, you get the 2 rows and the 2 columns. Meaning you can see the color dependency is higher of 420 versus 422. The color dependency. For your eyes that are not so sensible to color, if you have to choose 422, 420, 422 is the better choice, but 420 is not so dramatic in consumer. Opposite of this, very important, is the differentiation between 8-bit and 10-bit. Why is that? 8-bit means 8-bit are 256 values. So 8-bit means on all color axes, we have 3 color axes, RGB. On all color axes, you get 256 values. So 256 times 256 times 256 gives us something like 16 point something million colors. That's a lot. But if you compare to 10-bit, it means that on all our axes we have 1024 different values. 1024, 1024, 1024 means it gives you some billions of colors. 16 point something million versus billions is a significant difference. And you can see our world is so versatile, especially the smooth gradients, like the skies or our skin, that 8-bit versus 10-bit is the color accuracy. If I have a higher accuracy, I have a better picture, especially when I'm filming humans or landscapes with skies and small gradients. If you have 8-bit and you blow it up, and you do post-processing, it's much easier to be prone to so-called banding. So you can see there's a jump in colors. In 10-bit, this transition is much smoother because you have a lot more colors to choose from. So if you have to make the decision, what's more important, 10-bit or 8-bit, or sacrificing a few of the color reproduction, never sacrifice the 10-bit if you don't need to. That's the decisive factor for your color reproduction. Venus Engine is the interpreter, the translator of sensor data to anything that makes a picture. Color, detail, edge reproduction, etc., etc. So what the engine does is it looks at the signal and from that decides how to calculate. So it needs a sample. Why do I say this? Because the improvement is that now from X1000 to X2000 we improve this sample size. So the sample that the Venus engine takes to do all its calculation and basically do the magic to reproduce a picture, instead of having this sample, we're taking a 9 times larger area now. And by this, of course, if I can look at 9 times more information, my decisions are much better because I have a better sample base. So actually, our processing is better, and the frequency reproduction, which leads to a picture, is just a lot better than before. Leads us to the detail processing and the detail reproduction. We have better reproduction of flat areas. We have a bit of differentiation of things that have details, because we can differentiate between what's an edge and what's inside the edge. We can have a much better differentiation. And talking about edges, if you have an edge, digitally spoken, you have a big difference between statues A on the one position and statues B. So you have to make a transition. And this transition, if you make it foolishly, it will be like bam, and you're losing it. With a new reproduction, you can basically adjust how this edge is being transposed. So instead of dropping down, it will make a natural transition. So in this example, they have this windmill, and you have the windmill, so you have a pattern here. There's a lot of edges. And instead of producing big, ugly, nasty holes, it detects, there's a flat area behind it, so my transition needs to be from this grid to the sky, and it will analyze it and have a much better, sophisticated interpretation of the signal. This is initially what it means. Yeah, here we come to the different options to record. I have told you about color reproduction, so now you know 420 10-bit. All this part of the description concerns color. 4K 60p, it concerns resolution and frequency of framing. So here, resolution, amount of details, 60p, amount of frames. So the flow, basically, the reproduction of the motion is smoother the more steps I can make. So the more frames, the smoother my reproduction of movement. So you can now interpret these descriptions better. So we don't have a slide for it, but long GOP, long group of pictures, means that within a sample of 10 frames, which is less than a second, I will have a certain amount of frames that contain all the information, and a certain part of frames that just detect what has changed to the frame before, what has changed. That's a group of pictures. A group of pictures is an intra-frame containing all information and change frames, easily spoken. And these together to the next intra-frame is a group of pictures. So the long GOP basically describes that I have this kind of grouping, intra-frame, change frames, intra-frame, change frames. And these have a certain amount of megabit per second, so a certain amount of information inside. So our maximum codec, highest efficiency, goes up to 200 Mbit per second in 4K 60p. We have lower ones, and this is initially what it means. How efficient am I? How much detail do I have? How much information do I have in my frames? HEVC, so the high efficiency compression, the H.265 codec is available for 420 10-bit. Remember, 420, we're sacrificing a little bit of the color dependency, but we're not sacrificing the amount of colors. 10-bit, important. And why is HEVC important? Because this kind of compressed formats are taken more and more by software and players, just as VLC or QuickTime, that use H.265. More files are ultimately compatible, and we can do more quality in more files than we can do in MP4. And here, this is what I told you in the beginning, even our smallest, even the 1500, uses the same logic of naming as the professional camcorder. So if you want to combine it with an AGC X350, which is professional, it is also based now on Venus Engine, so they can use the same logic. No? Camera, roll, operational number, date, file naming. Same logic, so very easy to mix and match. This overview, I'm not going to explain, you can all read it better, but basically this file will show you everything that the camera can record. Separated by container, so is it a MOV, is it an MP4 or an AVC HD, which Panasonic invented as a full HD format. It will show you which is the methodology. Is it a file with a 10-bit or 8-bit? Is it color compression in 422, 420? So all these differences and what frame rates are available is what this slide shows you. Please go through it and learn it. Super slow motion recording means that we can record with higher frame rates, so initially more pictures in 1 second, and then we stretch it out. So basically the motion that took place very quickly is then stretched for an increased dramatical effect. We can do it up to 120 frames per second. Yeah, and it operates with autofocus. That's important. Okay, here we come to the color adjustment in terms of grading, so the interpretation, the look that your footage would have. You have different kind of tastes. Like for example, you have cine-like looks that are being derived from cinema look. It's an industry standard. It's not something that we programmed. It's something to make us comfortable to the look that people like for cinema. Or for film, the HD look, which people know from camcorder, or still light, which is derived from actually kind of a Lumix still image look that we created earlier. So basically, for your knowledge, your audience will know what they want. You need to demonstrate it. You need to show them the difference of these modes, basically. Color adjustments. Okay, this looks complicated, but the essence of it is meaning that our color signal, we have differentiated into 16 axes. This is what you can see here. So it's not only R, G, B, but we actually can access the in-between steps. So the middle of blue and green, cyan, going more to, we can access these individually. So this translates into, we can do a color correction on a very fine level. And meaning that if I have something like a rainbowy thing, in this example it's the pencils, but I only want to touch this kind of axis, I can change this axis, resulting in only changing this pen, instead of having to make a global change. So the more axes I have that I can access, the finer I can do my reproduction instead of tinting a whole picture globally. Our processing allows for softer skin. We can reproduce the details better and the colors better, and adjust an overall contour adjustment. So we have a combination of analysis of the signal. I've told you earlier about differentiating edges from flat areas, and of course the color differentiation. If I combine this, my analysis gets extremely strong. Yeah, on a broadcast kind of grade, it's possible that within these profiles, you basically set very detailed things like coring. Please read through all these things. Coring, which initially sets the level of how the edges are treated, but you need to be following up on that and send us emails if you have questions about this, because this is going beyond what's possible to explain in a very few words. But initially, make a long story short, edge, detail, color, knee control. So basically, where are my limitations on how to treat the signal? All of this can be set here and controlled here. I said earlier we have an infrared mode. So if you're working in the dark, as this example suggests, you can basically turn off the IR pass filter, and by that, and then analyzing in terms of what IR lights, so non-visible parts for us, hit the sensor. So I turn off the filter, and then I can use lights that will enlighten the scene on infrared base, but not pollute with visible light. So recommended here, you can see 850 nanometer wavelengths, because this is basically the filter we switch off. If you have a lamp that will emit exactly this light frequency, you can enlighten your scene, and you can film it with the camera, because the camera now is sensitive for that infrared light. Yeah, in use cases, you have two typical use cases: events, clips, or nature filming are the most used cases. Now we're coming to the details of the Xlr Audio Input. you can see it's two inputs, both of them are stereo sound, XLR. On the other side, you have the leveling. So 1, 2, both have possibility of individual leveling. You can have an auto balance or a manual balance, and you can specify what do you put in here. So you can put in a microphone or another source of audio. Then you put a line in. If you have an external sound feeding into the camera, you go on line. So here this little lever gives you line, mic, and plus 48. Now what is plus 48? Plus 48 is a mic that is phantom powered. So either the microphone has an own battery, or the microphone doesn't need a battery, it's powered by the unit. So phantom power or not phantom power means does have its own power or does not have its own power. So basically, whatever you want to plug in, you can plug in here. And you can mix and match. So if on one channel you want to plug in an audio source, line, fine. If on the other side you want to have, I don't know, the lavalier microphone that you clip on your interview partner, then you can put in the transmitter here and have a wireless or wire transmission to your interviewee. So it's a very versatile tool. It has basically the same functionality on the audio side as the XLR1 from Lumix. The XLR1 from Lumix is a little better in performance. It can record 96 kHz sound, while this is 48 kHz sounds, which is more than enough for 99.9% of all usage. The differentiating factor of this adapter is that it does come with an LED light, so you can, especially for interview situations, light up the foreground, have a headlight, and you can use it as a tally. I demonstrated before that. Camera turned off. Camera again. I can change the intensity of the light. So it works when you hear your interview partner be like, oh. And I can turn it on and off directly at the grip. So very easy access to a good part of functionality. Yeah, the volume control I've showed you. So cover this. Cut.